Well, good morning, everyone. It is now 7:21. I actually started a video about almost an hour ago talking about, well, what I'm going to talk about now, but it was all over the place and unprofessional. Like, as I'm talking right now, it's like, yeah, all right, I'm the bastion of professionality. Why the hell do I care if it sounds professional or not? So what I wanted to do was just go through and talk about this guy in the foreground right here, the Fender Squier Stratocaster. It is a Fender Strat. It's the difference between a Fender Strat and a Squier Strat is that on the Squier they cut some corners with the frets, with the pickups, and with some of the electronics and maybe the bridge. So instead of dropping, $1,500 for a guitar for my first electric, after not playing for almost 18, 19 years, I couldn't justify the price. I love the sound of it. I couldn't at the time drop that kind of money, just because what happens if I all of a sudden decide to quit playing. Couldn't hack it, just didn't want to go through the initial pains of getting my fingers ready. So instead of, like I said, instead of dropping over $1,000 on a guitar that I may or may not even be playing in a month or two, let's just spend $400 on this guy. That's why now, after playing for a lot longer, knowing that I'm not going to give up, that's why I dropped the coin on this guy, my big boy guitar. So that was over $2,000. This amp right here is, I can't say enough about it, the Fender GT40. It's a 40 watt amp. It's got almost, you can program, right now it already comes with over 100 presets on it, but you can also download and create your own. For $200, this thing sounds great. I've never played it over 50% volume on it for the master. So what I want to talk about is this guy, and I've gone on way too long, probably because of this Irish coffee I've been drinking. It's not Irish beans, it's Irish because of some Jameson and some Baileys that I put in it, but it's fresh ground from my French press, and safe to say I've gotten only about halfway through and I'm pretty hyper, if you can't tell. So let's talk about, hang on one second. Refreshing. So let's talk about the Squier. What makes a Strat is basically you have your three pickups here. You have your bridge, middle, and neck. Each are single coil, which means that they operate independently from each other, but they also then will feed back, and you'll get some buzz coming from them when you flip between each other. And you have your electronics, which is, you have your master volume, which controls the volume for the entire guitar. You have your first tone, which comes up to the neck, and the second tone, which is your middle pickup. So you can change that to whatever you want, just depending on your own taste. And then you have your selector switch, which is a 5-way on this particular model. On the earlier Strats, they only had a 3-way, but this one's a 5, which is in the first position, which is in right now, and I'll go through them. First position is strictly just this pickup here, your bridge. Second switch is bridge and middle. Third position is just the middle. Fourth position, middle and neck. And fifth position is just the neck pickup. And I'm just going to go through a quick demonstration of what everything sounds like. And don't want to be too boring, and I know too late. Already too boring. This is in position 1, which is just the neck pickup. So if I just do a simple... So it's really bright, kind of in your face. Here's the bridge and middle. So you can hear the subtle difference. Here's just the middle. Almost the same. Flip back. Middle. Again, very subtle changes. Here's the fourth position, which is the middle and neck. Here's just the middle. Middle. And again, it's subtle. Here's the neck. So that's kind of what the Strat is good for, is the different tone changes on the fly, which can be achieved quickly. A lot of some of the well-known guitarists that have used the Strat and their sounds, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck will use one. He also uses the Telecaster as well as Stevie Ray. David Gilmour, Pink Floyd, almost all of his sounds are strictly Stratocaster. And those are just some of the real quick ones off the top of my head that, when you hear them play and you hear their tone, it is a Strat. Stevie Ray Vaughan, very distinctive. David Gilmour, one of my favorite guitarists. Just the Strat just sounds good. And eventually one of these days, when I was going through and debating between, my Les Paul, I was thinking about a Telecaster, because I was going to drop over $1,000, so let's play them. And I went with the Les Paul just because guitars are like different tools. You don't use a hammer to saw something in pieces. You could. It is not going to get the job done as well as using a saw, but it's the same thing with guitars. You know, I've had a couple of questions asked of, why even bother buying different guitars? And it's the tone and what they sound like and what they do. The Les Paul, and I'll do a video on the Les Paul and go through that and the tones. But I played the Les Paul and the Telecaster for about an hour, switching back and forth, and I just liked the heavy crunch that the Les Paul gave. Not that the Telecaster couldn't do it, it's the Les Paul did it better. And I guess when I'm ready to retire this Squier Strat and get either a Fender Squier or Fender Strat or a Fender Telecaster, I'll make that decision then. So that's about it for today. Have a great Sunday, and fortunately I'm done with the shoveling for today. I already cleaned out the front of my driveway thanks to the snowplow guys who decided to come through late and block everything in. That's already done. So I'm gonna have a couple more coffees, and fortunately for you fellas, you won't hear from me again. So, which will be a good thing, being I'm already starting to feel that caffeine and Jameson already starting to kick in. So I better stop while I'm ahead. Later.